Poor Benji. The only reason he wanted to be a field agent in the first place was to wear one of those masks. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be continuing my Mission Impossible review series with the fifth film in the franchise, 2015's action thriller, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation stars Tom Cruise, Rebecca Ferguson, and Simon Pegg, and was directed by Christopher McQuarrie. After the disbandment of the IMF, Ethan Hunt and a small team of agents must uncover and prevent the plot of an international terrorist group known as the Syndicate. Long-running franchises are a curious thing. Franchises in general, not super surprising. A successful film obviously leads to the desire to capitalize on it and make another one. But a long-running franchise, at least one that remains not only commercially viable but also critically heralded, requires a unique balance. The franchise has to retain what made it popular and successful in the first place, but has to do it in new and exciting ways to keep people continuously interested. This can be tough, and especially in action franchises, often creates this desire to one-up the spectacle and action of the previous installment. But long-running franchises allow for the development of multi-film story and character arcs, and allows audiences to build an attachment to those characters. Throughout its existence, Mission Impossible has been a series that's continually shifted and evolved. The first three films were all very distinct from one another, but Ghost Protocol focused the series, reinvigorating it, but also setting a high bar. Story-wise, Rogue Nation is surprisingly similar to its predecessor, albeit with a slight variation. Rather than the team being disavowed by the IMF as an agency has been dismantled and subsumed by the CIA in this film. So once again, we see Hunt and his team operating outside of their usual sanctioned and supported realm. I actually don't mind that plot device repetition, because I liked it in Ghost Protocol, and the setup provided here plus all the tie-ins with the previous films are fine, but something is just lacking in the story this time around. I do like the mystery and espionage elements of it all, but things just flow a little too conveniently. Unlike in Ghost Protocol, the team doesn't seem to encounter any true hiccups, resulting from the absence of the IMF. There are still challenges to overcome, but they already have their gadgets, which all seem to be functioning properly this time around. They don't seem to encounter any trouble traveling, and even the CIA never poses a real threat. So despite the fact that they're technically fugitives on the run once again, trying to stop a mysterious terrorist network, nothing about their mission feels particularly urgent. In fact, I think this lack of urgency is one of the film's biggest flaws. There's a lot of setup in this movie. During its first hour, it has to explain the disbandment of the IMF, establish what the Syndicate is, introduce Ilsa, and show us how motivated and obsessive Hunt is regarding stopping the Syndicate. It's all important information, and the mystery aspect is interesting, but it doesn't give us much to truly latch on to plot or character-wise until about the halfway point. Before that, there's just not a lot of urgency to the story. Sure, it's suspenseful to see Hunt dangling from the side of a plane with an obviously urgent need to get inside. There's intrinsic urgency when we see characters holding their breath underwater for extended periods of time, or when we're watching a high-speed chase or countdown timer on a bomb. There's certainly this type of momentary urgency within the action sequences of the film, but the story itself doesn't fly along with the heart-pounding pace of its predecessor, making for a less consistent and absorbing film. Despite the slightly weaker story elements, Rogue Nation follows Ghost Protocol's lead regarding the action sequences. Although nothing quite tops the Burj Khalifa sequence, this film has got a number of incredible action set pieces. The cold opening plane sequence is wild, and as was the case with the previous film, Tom Cruise really did the stunts. So that's actually him hanging off the side of an Airbus as it takes off. There's some exciting shootouts and escape scenes throughout, but my two favorite action sequences both occur in Casablanca. One high in suspense, the other high in octane. The underwater heist is equal parts impressive and stressful, and once again, actually performed by Tom Cruise himself. He purportedly held his breath for 6 minutes to shoot the entire scene in one long take, though it unfortunately gets intercut in the actual film. And that Casablanca foot-to-car-to-motorcycle chase? Possibly the most entertaining chase scene in the franchise up to that point. Just like in Ghost Protocol, the lack of IMF support puts extra focus on the team at the heart of the story. The team dynamics aren't quite as good here as they were in that predecessor, but it still retains the fun yet exciting tone of that film. Although the emotion of Mission Impossible 3 is never quite reached, Ethan Hunt does have a bit more humanity to him compared to Ghost Protocol. However, he does have some moments where he's driven to an obsession-based fever pitch. The Syndicate may be a bit of a broad organization, but the ringleader baddie is decent. Not the best villain in the franchise, but he at least has a bit of a personality and some semi-interesting motivations and plans. Benji continues to have a larger role here, and more Benji in the field is always a good thing. Strangely, Paula Patton's Jane Carter doesn't return, which is a bit of a shame, but this film does see the introduction of Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust. There's some mystery surrounding her character, which is intriguing, but she also serves as an exciting and integral part of the plot, matching Hunt's skills and tempo without ever devolving into a romantic subplot. Rogue Nation is a highly entertaining and enjoyable film, but I've always felt a surprising coolness towards it. Nothing negative, mind you, just not as overwhelmingly positive as many of the other films in the franchise. The film certainly has some issues, but I think the ambivalence I have for it can be chalked up to its placement in the franchise. Even a really good film would have a tough time being sandwiched between Ghost Protocol and Fallout. So, with all the build-up and impressiveness of the franchise as a whole, this one ends up, somehow, feeling a bit lackluster by comparison. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number 1 is the action. I'm sure this comes as no surprise in this latter half of the franchise, but Rogue Nation keeps the action spectacle going. For me, this doesn't top the action of Ghost Protocol, so people hoping for constant one-upping might be a little disappointed, but I'd say this just about matches its predecessor. The film starts off with an impressive, practically done aerial stunt, and then jumps between a few big set pieces throughout the film, each offering something slightly different. There's a classic espionage thriller opera sequence, a suspenseful underwater scene, one of the most exciting chase sequences in the franchise, and plenty of running and fighting. As was the case with its predecessor, the vast majority of stunts were done practically, often without stuntmen. So, you liked Tom Cruise really hanging off the side of the Burj Khalifa in the last movie? This time, you get to see him really hanging off the side of a plane as it takes off. The second pro is the characters. One of the benefits of a long-running franchise is the ability for audiences to grow attached to characters, and watch as those characters grow and change over an extended period of time. This film provides us that opportunity, with plenty of returning favorites like Ethan, Benji, Brant, and even Luther, who has a bit more to do this time around. Our villain is decent, and a bit more memorable than Hendrix in Ghost Protocol, but the best new addition, and honestly maybe the best character in the film period, is Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa Faust. Characters whose motivations and loyalties are a bit ambiguous are often the most interesting, which is a part of what makes Ilsa so good, but she's also a character who can match Ethan Hunt, not only in terms of skill, but also mindset. On the con side, the biggest issue is the story's lack of urgency, specifically in the first half. Now, I realize this might sound like a weird criticism, so hear me out on it. The film itself is fairly well paced. It's exciting, it's fun to watch, and like its predecessor, it does keep moving. The action set pieces especially are high octane, and within those sequences, there's certainly urgency. But it's not until Casablanca that the story threaded around those action sequences also gains a sense of driving urgency. It's understandable to an extent. There had to be some build up to the Syndicate, and set up for the mysteries of the story. But it's not until some of those mysteries are solved and specifics are detailed that we finally feel the extent of the threat, both to this team that we care about, but also to the world at large. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation 3.5 out of 5 paws. Although the story lacks the urgency and intrigue of its predecessor, through its first half at least, this film still delivers on the entertainment and action spectacle, while giving us more of the characters we love and introducing the most interesting newcomer in a long time, Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa Faust. I would recommend Mission Impossible Rogue Nation to people who like a lot of mysterious setup in their spy films. The individual pieces of the story will be very familiar to any espionage fan, even just Mission Impossible fans for that matter, but the story gives you plenty of questions that only get answered as the film approaches its finale. The action and visual spectacle are about up to par with the other late franchise Mission Impossible movies, but fans of Ghost Protocol may be slightly let down by this one, comparatively, but only slightly. If you liked Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, I would recommend The 39 Steps. Comparing a mid-2010s action thriller to a Hitchcock mystery thriller from the 30s might sound a little weird, but there are actually a lot of plot similarities between these two movies. I don't want to spoil either film, so I won't detail the specifics, but both of these espionage thrillers deliver on suspense and mystery regarding government secrets. If you liked the character of Solomon Lane and want another action-packed spy film featuring a similarly motivated villain, you might want to check out GoldenEye, the 17th movie in the James Bond franchise, and the first of the Pierce Brosnan era. And if you want to step away from espionage, but like the idea of good guys breaking laws to prevent bad guys from doing the same thing, you should check out National Treasure. This entertaining action-adventure film also features a plot centering around stolen government documents and has a similar tone, balancing its serious components with its lighthearted ones. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Mission Impossible Rogue Nation? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite movie that features a suspenseful underwater scene? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information on this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.